So I'm going to watch the first episode of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. You know, it's been recommended pretty much from the get-go, from when I started doing anime videos here. So I promised I would give it a shot, check it out. So I'm going to make a reaction video to the first episode. We'll see what kind of interest there is, and maybe we can go into a nice long-form review of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's a little tricky because it's not divided really into story arcs or seasons. So I'm not sure how I would approach the reviews, but I'm happy enough to do it if there's interest, and you don't know if you don't try, right? And as promised, let's go ahead and start Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Episode 1. So we're just starting off inside of some kind of like citadel or something. And this guy drawing chalk on the ground, talking about the freezing alchemist. Talking about being in central something, so it looks like either a school or a military kind of organization. They're talking about some boy who is Edward Elric, the Full Metal Alchemist. Okay. So wow, they're just kind of getting into it, huh? So wow, this is like hitting the ground running. So this really hit the ground running. We meet this guy that they call the Full Metal Alchemist. Looks like he has a robot sidekick or something. And they kind of talk about it like we're not starting at the beginning. Like maybe we're starting with the action already underway. Here, the opening is showing me we've got the big robot-looking guy along with the smaller blonde-haired looking guy, who I guess is the alchemist. And when I had asked, mostly the consensus was that I really didn't need to watch Fullmetal Alchemist before watching Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. That'd been recommended as the superior incarnation of this anime. But yeah, the way this is having such like a cold opening and a harsh start right in the middle, I wonder if maybe I should have done a little background of watching the first series of it, just to at least have some point of reference. This opening's showing some odd looking stuff happening, like people are being unwound as if they're made of ribbon. A whole lot of transformations. Like, I gotta say, I know absolutely like zero zip zilch about Full Metal Alchemist. People just told me if you really like magic and magic systems, this might be one that I would enjoy. A lot of people seem to be fans of this, so I'm checking it out. But I'm coming from a totally fresh point of view here. Like, starting from zero. Tabula rasa, blank slate. Oh, so he used like some ice spears to kill people here. Now a little bit of a more freezing. Like it had some electric sparks like lightning, but it looks like the effect is freezing. And I do think they said something about the freezing alchemist here. So I guess this guy's the freezing alchemist. It has a bit of a fantasy setting. People who recommended this knew I'm a big fan of fantasy novels and fantasy stories. So far, I can see why this has been recommended. And it looks like, right off the bat, without much of an introduction, we got the freezing guy meeting with who looks like our Full Metal Alchemist guy, who just turned a pole into sort of like a weapon, and what I'm going to call the robot until I find out what he is, the big steampunk-looking robot guy, got him from behind. So they're sort of double teaming or tag teaming this freezing wizard here, or alchemist. So he has something called automail on his arm. It kind of looks like Bucky the Winter Soldier there. So I guess he's turned his arm into metal. Edward Elric here. Yeah, they really are giving us the rapid fire introduction here. They're not spoon feeding us at all. So it says the robot is his younger brother. Did he turn his whole brother into metal? So I guess he has quite the reputation, because this guy's a little surprised that the Full Metal Alchemist is a child. And apparently he's got a little bit of a complex about his height, too. So I guess he did take care of this bad guy, made short work of him, getting their thanks and leaving the alleyway while this guy's in handcuffs. That seemed kind of easy. Maybe a little too easy. Yeah, it's not over yet. He found some water. So I guess maybe he's more of a water alchemist than a freezing alchemist. Almost like a water bender? I don't know. So I'm getting the idea that this Elric guy is kind of a big deal, but he also kind of knows he's a big deal. Because it looks like he's interacting with either the police or the military here, some kind of government group of enforcement. Oh, so they're telling us about this guy. Isaac the Freezer was his name. He used to work for the government. But it looks like he was part of a war that maybe took its toll on him. And now he renounces his state alchemist title. So the war has embittered the warrior. Sort of a rogue agent. I like this. They're letting us know really quickly here that this point of view character is not interested in killing if he can avoid it. Okay. So I guess his alchemy has transformed his brother into the robot and transformed his arm into a robot arm. So maybe one of the quests that will be underlying the show is trying to return his brother to normal and to regain a normal human arm. The Elric brothers. That's funny because the one I'm calling a robot, Alphonse, I guess is the youngest. Oh, so everybody keeps thinking Alphonse is Edward. And he's got this complex about his size. I can see this running. This is going to be a good source of humor. But then also, he's going to have impressive power just to balance the story. I get that. So I guess he's going to meet this soldier's family. Kind of awkward to bring a robot guy and an alchemist home to your family, though, wouldn't you think? Of course, in this world, maybe this happens every day. Maybe this is a place filled with robot guys and alchemists. I do like the setting here. It's kind of like, I'm guessing, almost like a World War I era looking setting. Edward Elric. So it sounds like he did say Edward, not Edvard, and Alphonse is his brother. Younger brother, even though he's much bigger because of his robot form. Everybody keeps calling Edward little, so I guess that's going to be something to trigger him throughout this show. A lot of fun here, a little bit more modern setting than I expected. And this looks really modern here. I really don't know what to expect out of this show. So this is awkward because he thinks Alphonse is just wearing armor, but I get the idea that he has been transmutated or transfigured into that form. So there is no human underneath the armor. He is the armor. Oh, we're going to see what's going on in this big prison here. So in prison, they're talking about the Crimson Alchemist potentially teaming up with the Freezing Alchemist. Oh, I guess it's the Freezing Alchemist that's making the proposition. Really wants to take the government down. So I like this. We've got some grand scheme. And, the way these kind of stories go, perhaps as Edward pursues the villains, he may see that there's some truth to the villain's cause. Maybe the government will end up to be the real villain, or maybe it'll be more of a straight story. Not everything has to have a million twists, right? I do, happen to notice these palm tattoos that the alchemists have. So I'm kind of curious if that's a source of power, if that's just an identifying mark, or if it's something that shows up naturally, organically, or is that like a tattoo of rank? Yeah, pretty modern looking sofa and love seat and dining room, or coffee table rather. So this is looking really more and more modern the more I watch. Nice little exposition about exactly what a state alchemist is, because they've been throwing that word around and, it's nice to get an intro to it. But I get the idea they're the toughest ones. So does Alphonse still eat? He's talking about the quiche, but I don't quite know how that would work. Yeah, it looks like Alphonse really wants his body back, so some kind of experiment gone wrong or a spell that can't be reversed or something like that. I'm waiting until, we get the exposition and the introduction to the supernatural element here, the power controlling system. Call it magic, call it alchemy. I'm looking forward to seeing a little more explanation of that. So we're getting just like a picture of Edward and Alphonse there. So wow, the Freezing Alchemist actually broke into prison to get this Crimson Alchemist to work with him. Yeah, if you weren't sure about whether or not the government are the bad guys here, they do keep referring to their leader as the Führer. So maybe this is like post-World War I, pre-World War II kind of time setting, if we're going to give a real-world equivalent. Maybe a bit of a diesel punk feel instead of steampunk. But yeah, it's, I've got my own personal baggage and the things I've picked up in history. But you hear the leader of a government referred to as a Führer, I tend to expect the worst there. So I wonder if the villains are going to be the more sympathetic characters as we get beyond this first episode. Or what they're calling the villains now may actually be the heroes. This may be like Kelsier from Mistborn and his thieving crew. I guess we have to see which way Edward goes. So I don't know who this guy is that the water alchemist, the freezing alchemist, is fighting against, but I guess it's another alchemist. But yeah, that's what? All kinds of head spinning. They called him Major, and here comes Edward and Alphonse. So they're showing him being pretty effective with water. I do like this. This has a nice fantasy novel feel to it. People learn how to use their particular power to the fullest advantage. They keep calling him freezing, which I get. Okay, so here's a flame alchemist, but the freezing's really a water alchemist, right? And I guess he's going to talk to this flame alchemist. So is the flame alchemist a state alchemist or another rogue one? I guess I got to watch and find out. But yeah, the flame's working for the state. So he and Frozen, I guess, are facing off. They were old war buddies. Kind of feels like, fire type versus water type Pokemon battle, just a tiny little bit. I do got to say I like these specialized systems, these powers. I'm going to call them magic or alchemy till I get a better term. But I am liking this, and I like people having their own sort of lane that they occupy and learning how to use that to the maximum. How are you going to make that match up with somebody else? And he does have like the figure drawn in chalk on the floor, kind of like a more modern urban fantasy movement too. And they are in an urban setting. So I haven't come anywhere close to getting a grasp on the story yet, but I'm loving the visuals and the magic or the power system. Yeah, straight from, stuff I'm familiar with from comic books. There's even moisture in the air all the time, like Iceman from the X-Men can do this kind of thing. I do like it that this guy who is like a war hero who had his eyes open to the crimes of the government is confronting the very literal child, Edward, here with, kind of the realities of life. What do you think the government's up to? Are you going to be a blind follower? Are you going to look beyond just following orders? I really think he's going to turn Edward over to his side, maybe. Oh, he did lure him into a fountain. Not the best place to fight a water manipulator or an ice manipulator. Oh, man. Massive display of power, but it looks like he's just using it to escape. Funny to see Edward and his brother running away and passing it on to the Major, and I don't quite know what the Major's alchemy is. But I'm really, really into this. Whoever, was the first to recommend this to me, you had a pretty good handle on the kind of stuff I like, because this is like a nice, comfortable lane for me. I'm enjoying all this. Oh, he's going to the Central Command, a big attack on like the center of operations. So transmutation circles, these sound like some kind of major use of power that they're going to tease for a while before they show us. Oh, he's going for the king, I think he said. Is King Bradley the Führer they keep talking about? I don't know. I'll have to learn the history of this world as I watch more. But a pretty good fight aboard a sky iceberg or something. Edward doesn't seem to react well to being attacked. Oh, did Alphonse just get his head blasted off? Oh, it's like animated armor. It still maintains a measure of control. And he's got some kind of like design, I guess I'll call it a rune. Yeah, it's like animated armor from Dungeons and Dragons. The soul is bonded to the armor. Nice touch. I wonder if we'll see exactly what happened to Edward's arm before this show runs its course. Human transmutation is a bad thing, and he's done this at a young age. Alchemy's greatest taboo, so he's marked himself as like a punk rocker in the alchemy world, the bad boy of alchemy. Oh, nice flashback to when it happened. Oh, a leg missing? So I guess his brother died, and or his body was damaged so much death was imminent, and the only way to save him was to bond his soul to that armor. Nice touch. Like that. Oh, he's getting all serious on the guy now. Big, strong, like really manly looking tough guy, and then the noticeably short little kid. Interesting to see the bravery and the courage when he charges the great big guy. And right now it looks like he's beating him. He's got him away from his water, so he has very little to use. Oh, pulls back the fact that the human body's mostly water, but he's using his own body rather than his opponent's. I wouldn't have expected that. Yeah, he's trying to tell Edward the truth about the nation's state. The state of the state, state of the country. Sounds like we got some cannon fire here. Yeah, it's starting to look more like 1930s Europe as I watch this. I think I know where it's going. They got the Flame Alchemist. I almost called him the Flame Hashira. But they got the Flame Alchemist here, melting the ice. We got the Freezing Alchemist on the run after mixing it up with Edward, and looks like he's getting the worst of it. Now we got this eye patch guy. He referred to him as King Bradley earlier. I don't know exactly who he is, but he doesn't look like he's a pushover or a fun guy to run into an alley like this. But the Freezing Alchemist is using the water in his blood to make a weapon. He's willing to risk it all to get his vengeance or what have you on this Bradley fella. I don't think it's going to work out. I think he's going to end up dead, but Edward's going to be curious about what he was talking about and start to investigate the real nature of this state that he serves. Oh, blood everywhere. He was no match for this guy. You couldn't even see him move. That's how swift and slick he is, you know, like that super powerful master of the technique, flick of the wrist, and the sword chops people up. That major, look like an old guy burst out of his shirt and showing off the muscles. I don't exactly know what his power is. Maybe he's a stone alchemist or something. Edward looks a little shaken up with his brother in the alleyway. Yeah, Führer King Bradley. So the Führer is the king. I was curious about that before. But he's got a little bit of a Stalin look, and then you throw the eye patch on. And I guess Edward's kind of a big deal. The Führer King knows him. So transmutation circles are these little things that are being drawn on the ground and seem to be a source of excess power. I'm learning slowly but surely. And that was the Führer, who I think is going to be the big villain, just from what I'm getting here. Just because he's called the Führer, for heaven's sake. Oh, I got a nice little seahorse. Reminds me of Waterford, Ireland. And it looks like Edward is convalescing. He's got some flowers. Always nice to get flowers from a weird old major dude, right? And the guy can't wait to take his shirt off. He is a weird guy. But he does have a fancy mustache. I gotta say, I wish I could have a fancy mustache like this guy. Like this weird guy that brought the flowers. Oh, so we have this mysterious lady. Cherchez la femme. So what is this Philosopher's Stone? Oh, creepy looking dude there. Gluttony. So we got some 7 deadly sins here. Gluttony's kind of funny and kind of creepy at the same time. Okay, so this lady, maybe this lady's the bad news. She looks like the devil incarnate. So when I said the Führer is the big bad, maybe I called that a little too soon. Maybe that other lady's the big bad. I don't know, but this is interesting. You know, people kind of pegged it when they said this would be right up my alley. They were not wrong. This is kind of cool. I'm into this tone and into this power system. I'll call it magic till I know it's alchemy, but I like it. Everybody's kind of got their own lane to stay in, and they're figuring out ways to match up. The show's animation was standard, but I really like this closing credits, kind of like hand-drawn crayon on construction paper look. And I kind of wonder if it'll have one of those tags at the end, you know, like a Taisho era secret or a Juju stroll. So I'm going to watch through the end credits and see what we got. And I really do like the animation on this outro, or this closing. Pretty nice trench coat on Edward there. Oh yeah, they're showing some of those deadly sins in the background. I saw gluttony along with some other people. So I'm curious, like, how will the show will it slowly tell Edward and Alphonse's backstory? Will it not tell it at all? Oh, here we go. Here's something. It's almost a modern day look at a bunch of kids. Pleasant Town. Oh, so this is like backstory on the brothers. Okay. Oh, so this is talking about committing a taboo. So I've got to find out what is this taboo for a whole long time to get all this figured out. So that's good. All right. Well, great recommendation. I'm glad I enjoyed it. I hope you liked it. I hope that
just some joy there. Hope some people watch it. And I will talk to you again soon with, well, either another reaction or review